As you expand your marketing efforts, tracking will be essential in measuring what is and what isn't working. Google has the ability to add what's known as custom tracking on top of your URLs. This way, you can tag any marketing effort and immediately understand the value. Let's say you publish a tweet and you want to measure the result of it. Well, you could go into Google Analytics and look at traffic arriving from Twitter, and that could be useful, but it's not very accurate. You can't be certain that that traffic was from your most recent tweet or one before it. You could perhaps bring in a secondary dimension of landing page and identify that the page you drove traffic to had a source of Twitter, but that too can be fairly inaccurate. What you want to do is instead create a campaign for each marketing effort. And then you'll tell Google when a user arrives to make sure they tag that user with the appropriate campaign tag. So if I pushed a tweet out, I might add a campaign tag called Twitter-promotion-615 for the date, or anything else descriptive for that matter. This is known as Google UTM tracking. The tracking is easy to add to any URL, and it will override any default tracking that Google has, such as source and medium. So the basic tracking tags that we can add to our URL is UTM_campaign, UTM_source, and UTM_medium. And the way this works is that each of these will be referencing a tag so we can tell Google exactly what we want it to capture. And we're going to place these variables at the end of our URL. So let's say that we have the URL of mysite.com. And now we want to track all the clicks that arrived from an individual tweet. The first thing we need to do is add a question mark at the end of that URL. So here I have mysite.com/? And this tells Google and the browser that our tracking is coming next. Without it, your URL won't take the visitor to the right place. Now, you don't need that slash there. That's just if you have trailing slashes, then you would need to put the question mark. But that's really based on what the URL looks like when you visit it. The easiest way to test that is to enter a URL into your web browser, hit enter, and then make sure that it stays the same at the top. If your browser adds the trailing slash because of the way your server is configured, then copy that URL as is and add the question mark. If it doesn't, then just add the question mark all the way there at the end. Once you've added the question mark, you can now add your tracking. So now we can tell Google, hey, the tracking is coming up. So the first thing we would do is add UTM_source equals Twitter. And this is telling Google, hey, the source of this traffic is Twitter. Now, you could name the source whatever you wanted, but in this case, it's Twitter, so we'll leave it as such. But if you had your own source, say a certain blog name, you could add that there. Next, we're going to add our medium. And in this case, the medium is social. So I would add the ampersand for and UTM_medium equals social. Now, this URL should be all one long line, and I'm going to show you that at the end, but I'm just trying to break it down for you so you can see the various steps to creating this custom URL. So we have and UTM_medium equals social. Finally, we need to apply our unique tracking campaign. And this is really going to help us identify which tweet or advertisement delivered that visitor. So we're going to add another ampersand followed by UTM_campaign equals, and then whatever the campaign name you want. In this case, I put offer. You could put offer hyphen or offer underscore, but you can't use spaces. Spaces are not ideal. Google will use them. They'll put a little %20 for all those spaces, but it makes it a little hard to sort of analyze and aggregate that data. So no spaces in any of your UTM campaign tracking. So the full URL I have here is mysite.com/ UTM_source equals Twitter, and UTM_medium equals social, and UTM campaign equals offer. Once you're using campaign tracking on your URLs, you can view the campaign reports here on Google under your acquisition category. Let me show you that now. So I've selected all campaigns from the campaigns dropdown within the acquisition reports category here on the left-hand navigation. And what you're looking at is a report associated to all of the campaigns that I've brought in. Now, in this example, I only have one active campaign, and I called that mag email -v1-2315 for the date that this campaign went live. Just like with all of our other reports, we can navigate between our primary dimensions and bring in any secondary dimensions to filter this data. But now you can see that this campaign is tracking the total sessions, total new users, and I can even see any conversions. In this case, it's defaulted to e-commerce, but I could view all of my goals and see if that campaign drove any meaningful goal completions. If you select into a campaign, it's going to show you your source and medium details, and you could drill in again if it got any more specific. In this case, it doesn't. It's never a bad idea to have multiple data sources as a way of validating what you're seeing. I highly recommend using campaign tracking as a way to bring in even more granularity to your reporting.